Hey, welcome back to Dad Drinks, where every pour tells a story. I'm Dad. And when this video goes live, I will be jumping aboard the Carnival Freedom in Port Canaveral, getting ready for a 4-day cruise out to the Bahamas. So I figured we'd do a little bit of a cruise drink. And this is actually inspired by one of my people I work with. And she sent me this recipe and said, you should do this one. So Nancy, this one's for you. It is the Hemingway Daiquiri. And the whole point of the Hemingway Daiquiri and why I'm going to do it and what we're going to talk about is that it's different from the daiquiris you're going to get in the Caribbean or the daiquiris you are going to get on the ship, which are these frozen, sugary, sweet concoctions. So, but this is what Papa Hemingway, what Ernest Hemingway would have drank. So we're going to start with 2 ounces of white rum. And put that into a mixing glass filled with ice. Then we are going to use half an ounce of Maraschino cherry liqueur. So that's just half an ounce. Just a little bit. And then let's do 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. There we go. And then we'll finish that up with half an ounce of lemon juice. So you see, not a lot of sugar. Going to be kind of tart. The sugar is going to come, if from anything, that maraschino liqueur. Otherwise, it's just going to be the rum and the tartness of the lemon and lime juice. Shake it up, get it nice and cold. And then we're going to put it, I didn't break that, huh? We're going to put it into, so we get the shakers open. There we go. We're going to strain it off into a coupe glass. You see, that looks nothing like what they're going to tell you is a daiquiri when you get on the ship or when you get off the ship. This is what Hemingway drank. And it's basically the original daiquiri. Oh, so much better. So, when I first went to the Caribbean, and I would go on cruises, and even when I would hang around here in Savannah, because we have a couple of daiquiri bars downtown, I assumed that those sugary sweet things were daiquiris. That's what a daiquiri was. And then I went on a cruise, and it was one of the last cruises when you could actually go to Cuba. Went to Havana, and we engaged a private guide, because we didn't want to do any of the excursions that the cruise ship had to offer or whatever. We kind of wanted to support people, Cubans, native Cubans. And she took us in Havana to Cafe Floridita, which is where Ernest used to hang out. And he would hang out there, and one day he went in there and he asked for a drink, and they gave him a drink. And he said, you know what, I want something with more rum, less sugar, and a lot stronger. And the bartender there came up with this, the Hemingway. And the original daiquiri. And then what happened was, all these other places kind of took it over and said, well, what can we do with it? It's kind of like the martini craze. One of the things I like to tell people is just because it comes in a martini glass doesn't make it a martini. You can throw anything you want into a martini glass and say, oh, well, that's a martini. We used to have a place in downtown Savannah called Jens and Friends. It was this little hole-in-the-wall bar. Probably had about 4 tables inside, maybe about 10 seats at their bar. And mostly it was a to-go place because it was right downtown in the to-go zone. And you would walk in there, and they had a menu, a cocktail menu that was probably 10 pages long of all these different martinis. And it would be things like, the Almond Joy martini. And it was, just some vodka, usually a flavored vodka, a lot of sugary stuff in it. Well, the same thing with daiquiris. The same thing happens. If you go down, you take a trip, you take a cruise, or you get on a plane, you go down to the Bahamas, you go down to Puerto Rico or St. Martin or somewhere like that, somewhere around the port, probably somewhere in the downtown area, what you're going to find is you're going to find a bunch of these, hole-in-the-wall bars. These small bars, they really don't have a lot of seats. They maybe don't have a really big bar. And it's going to be someplace like Señor Frog's or Fat Tuesdays. And what they're going to sell there are these things. These are not the daiquiri you are looking for. What they are is basically just a sugar slushy with a bunch of alcohol poured into them. And I haven't really been to Fat Tuesdays, I don't think, where I've gotten off the ship. A couple of times in Cozumel, we've headed over to Señor Frog's. I think the first cruise I ever took, which went to Freeport, the only thing there at the port, there were no stores. There was no hey, come in here and buy all kinds of cheap, discounted jewelry. There was just a Señor Frog's, which was basically 4 walls that weren't even walls, just wide open to the environment. So basically just if you went to a park and they had the gazebo or the canopy or whatever, that's what it was, with a bar in the middle and then a bunch of tables around it. And what you get there, you can get a small glass like this, but that's not going to do anything for you. So what they do is they start selling you, a 20-ounce souvenir cup. Or they sell you this thing that is 1.5 feet long. That's a souvenir cup that they just fill. That probably only has about 24 ounces in it, because of course it's really big at the top and it's got a base at the bottom. But then it's just really small in the middle. Or you can get a whole yard of whatever type of daiquiri you want. So that's not my thing. I'd rather just do what Hemingway did. And you think about Hemingway. His main base of operations throughout the 50s in the very early 60s was going to be Key West and Havana, and then he spent a lot of time in Bimini in the Bahamas, which is not where we're going. We're going to Nassau, although we have been to Bimini before, and we've gone past the big, I think it's called Big Game Bimini, which is the big, huge club, restaurant, whatever there on Bimini, where he would go and charter a boat, grab a boat captain for him. They'd go out into the Caribbean and they, would fish for marlin or swordfish or whatever. So that's where he kind of was at, and that's where he would drink. And as we all know, Hemingway drank heavily, was probably if not borderline, definitely an alcoholic. Drank a lot. That's pretty much what killed him. And he was just, a bigger-than-life person down there in the Caribbean. Everyone knew who he was, knew where he hung out. We have been on cruises where we've gone to Key West, and, they point out all the places, like his house, his summer house that he had down there, or, the different bars that he would hang out in. And they, try and entice you in with, Hemingway used to drink here. Like I said, probably the most interesting place that I ever went to where he drank was there in Havana at Cafe Floridita. So for the next 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then getting back on Monday, I will be on the ship. And we're probably going to do some videos from the ship. So there's probably going to be a bunch of content going up, hopefully more than once a day. That's going to mostly be on the Facebook and Instagram sites with the reels. So make sure you go to Dad Drinks on Facebook and Dad Drinks Bourbon, which is over on Instagram. So the same as the YouTube channel here, the same kind of name. And make sure you check those out. Keep an eye on them. Make sure you subscribe. If you subscribe, you're going to get the alerts when they go up. And we're going to, spend some time, I think, at the different bars on the ship. The whole plan on tomorrow, which is the day we get to Nassau, is basically just to bar crawl the port area around Nassau. There's probably about 10 different bars that are actually listed, like on Google. And then there's a whole bunch of ones that aren't listed because they're just like little, doors. They're a door and a takeout window. So we're going to hit those, and then, like I said, a couple of things on the ship. Try to get over to the Alchemy Bar and do something there. That's where they have, more high-end mixologists, and we'll see what happens. So bon voyage to Dad, and we will check in with you later. So that is the Hemingway. Make sure you get the recipe off the website. Make sure you head over to the blog, daddrinks.com. That's where the recipe is going to be. That's also where all the merchandise is. And on the YouTube, on the video, make sure you subscribe so that you get alerted when all the new videos go up. Cheers. Please hit like and subscribe, and visit daddrinks.com for recipes, merchandise, and more fun stuff.